This pattern is called the Grouse Hackle, and to dress this fly I'm using a mustard R50 XAP hook in a size 14. Ridsdale doesn't state the colour of the silk, but here I'm using a vintage spool of Purcell's orange. For the body he states brown fur, and luckily within Ridsdale's manuscript there was a small sachet of brown fur, so I'm taking it as though this is the original brown fur. For the rib he states gold twist, so here I'm using a vintage spool, and for the hackle he states grouse, so here I'm using a darkly spotted hackle from the shoulder of a red grouse. Now to dress this fly, simply come in with your fly tying silk and trap it down with 5 or 6 nice tight turns directly behind the eye of the hook. Now taking your gold braid, simply trap that down onto the hook shank with the silk and bring your silk in tight touching turns down the hook shank to a point somewhere between the point of the hook and the end of the barb. Somewhere about there. Now taking the brown fur, and this fur has quite a long staple, so there's no real need to wax the silk. I simply dub it onto the silk with nice tight turns, and as I say, the long staple makes it easier to dub. I'll just slide that noodle of fur down a little bit, and now again in tight touching turns I bring my dubbed silk back up the body of the fly. If you find the dubbing just starts to separate a little bit, you can of course just give it another twist again. There we go. And now, taking my gold braid in my fingers, I simply start to wrap a nice segmented open rib to the fly. There we are. Now, taking my tying silk, I trap that braid down with 2 or 3 nice tight turns of silk, firmly binding it to the hook. And I'll just take one in front. Now coming with my scissors, and I'll cut off that waist end of braid. And now I'm ready to prepare my grouse hackle. And I simply just brush those hackle fibres back to expose a small tip to the hackle. There we go. Now I'll just swap fingers. I'll come in with my scissors and I'll trim that tag end to a nice manageable level. I've got a couple of stray fibres there, so I'll just brush them back a little bit more, and then again I'll just trim that hackle tip just a little bit more, just to make it neater and smaller. There we go. Now offering the tip up to the hook, I trap it down with 3 or 4 nice tight turns of silk. I'll give it a pull, I'll come in with my scissors and I'll just clean up that waste tag end around the eye of the hook. I'll just snip that one off there. Now I'll grip the grouse hackle in my hackle pliers. I'll just stroke those fibres back a little bit, and I proceed to take my turns of hackle, making sure that the hackle is nice and symmetrical to the hook, so I'm going in the same plane as much as I can. And once you're happy with the hackle density, just come in with your silk and trap that hackle stalk down with a couple of nice tight turns of silk. I'll just bang one in front just to clean the eye a bit. Come in with my scissors and trim off that hackle. There we go. I'll just brush the hackle fibres back. There's one or two stray fibres, so I'll come in with my scissors and again I'll just cut them out. There you are. Now I'll just give it an extra pull, and now taking my whip finish tool, I'll come in and form a 3 or 4 turn whip finish. Tighten up the silk. Now again, come in with the scissors, cut off that silk. Just a stray fibre there that I'm going to try and get. Ping the hook eye with your fingernail, and there you can separate a few of the hackle fibres with your bodkin. I'll just snip a few of those long fur fibres out. And there you have Austin Ridsdale's grouse hackle.